We had a request after the rune question for thoughts on dice and domino divination.
Oh,
Awesome, Rocket.
yeah, Ian totally uses
I use dice.
Yeah.
So,
And predictive numbers?
on the subject of using dice for divination, you absolutely can. So, divination ultimately is attempting to harness the power of randomness and synchronicity. What you're trying to do is use a random or pseudo-random event with meaning that has been ascribed to it in order to determine what currents are moving that are influencing apparently random events in life. It's basically trying to use one random or pseudo-random pattern to tie into current patterns. It's going for entrainment. I'm going to ignore that for the moment. So dice are a fantastic source of randomness. Unless they're loaded dice, that's a whole other story. To make divination by dice work, you need to sort of have meanings ascribed to the possible outcomes. You can do this by sort of going, you know, 3 and up is good with 6 being the best, or 4 and up is good with 6 being the best, 3 and down is bad with 1 being the worst, and then having a mat where you have different areas for different chunks of your life that you cast them onto. I personally generally take a handful of 6-sided dice, and I will say, okay, for the purposes of the question that I'm asking now, I have a limited range of outcomes that I'm sort of asking which of these is more likely to occur. So let me assign each of those to one of the numbers. And then 6 is going to be something that you didn't think of. And I'll take them and I'll throw them. And I generally read it left to right, with directly in front of me being right now, to the left of it being how we got here, and to the right of it being where we're likely to be going. And the numbers that come up refer to the scenarios of we got into it from the beginning of this scenario, we're going into this other scenario, or and this is where we're at right now. Or maybe I get a bunch of 6s and go, oh crap, what didn't I think of? Because that happens too. Come up with something that works for you, but yeah, dice are a great element of randomness, and one nice thing is that you can adjust the meanings of the numbers situationally. It doesn't have to be unique. So something like the tarot or the I Ching is great because it incorporates an enormous amount of symbolism and an enormous amount of possible meanings. And so you don't have to do as much of the coming up with what appropriate symbolism is because it's already built in, right? Something like dice or dominoes, if you want to do it that way. I've never used dominoes, but you can use. But again, they're a great source of randomness. And each domino has 2 elements on it, so you can get juxtaposition or you can get past present. So I can see how that would work really well. So you have to do a little more work on ascribing meaning, or not. You can also do something like use 10-sided dice and use Plato's numerology, which I have done in the past. Ignore the fact that he had a thing about beans. Not relevant here. You can find a numerological system that works for you and use 10-sided dice, and roll one for past, one for present, one for future, like you would with 3-card spread, and go, these are the numerological meanings associated with that, so here's my divination.